Hello and welcome to a very somber special episode of History of Godzilla, as we lost one of the giants in the industry this past week. I'm going to let you go into this.
Yeah.
I
guess because I had the good fortune of meeting, albeit briefly, I did get the good fortune of meeting Mr. Haruo Nakajima. And this, of course, is kind of unexpected. We weren't intending to do this, but I thought since the news was passing, we should do a quick little tribute. Because we wouldn't have this series without Haruo Nakajima.
No.
I think,
and that man worked his butt off.
Oh, did he ever? Yeah.
Not to mention, loved his fans.
He did. I mean, the reason he got the job that he did was because the director and producer were looking for somebody to wear the suit, and they really didn't have suit-mation actors at the time.
Yeah. And
they saw him. Haruo Nakajima wanted to get into Hollywood as a stuntman and do some acting and do more martial arts type films.
Yeah.
They saw him do a stunt in a movie where he basically is climbing into an airplane and catches fire, as it's supposed to take place during the war. There's a bomb that goes off, and he's a stuntman that basically his whole backpack and suit catches fire and he falls off the plane. And the directors kind of went, "Who is that? He's full of energy, get him." And he was brought in, and of course it was work. So he jumped at it, but he really he didn't know what Godzilla was at the time. He didn't know what this was actually going to be, just knew it was a big monster that was going to attack a city. He took the time himself to go to the zoo and study all these large animals, and study them, learned how they walked and how they moved.
And he used that in the film.
He brought it all through, and you can actually see when he takes the steps, you can see how he's learned to do that. And
considering how heavy the suit was.
The suit was, I was going to add too, and not only that, because the film is shot at high speed to slow everything down, he needed to also mentally convert that into a higher speed so that it converts. So he was thinking ahead on all this stuff, and acting in this suit that, as you said, was over 220 pounds.
Yeah, and he was not a big man.
No, he wasn't. I met him, and he's very, 5'5", I think. But the suit was partly made of concrete.
Yeah.
So it was, and he was sweating inside this thing, and he's on a set with electricity and water and everything else. But it was work, and he jumped in and did it.
Honestly, all the respect in the world to that man for that kind of work, because he lost like 30 pounds doing that?
Yeah, they said it was like the sweat was pouring out of the suit when he got out. So it was, but I think he loved the work, and he wanted to prove himself.
No wonder he loved the work. He did 12 films.
12 films. Well, just Godzilla films, and not to mention he was Rodan. He was the hand puppet doing Mothra for a few scenes. He was King Kong. He was the Green Gargantua. Side note, the Green Gargantua, he said, was one of his favorite performances just because of the mobility he could have within that suit.
Honestly, the Gargantua movie is like one of the most emotionally resonant films.
And that really comes through if you watch those two. Props to both of the suit actors and that one to actually convey these thoughts behind these creatures, and you can really see it in the body language, and that's credited to these men who do that kind of work. That some people
it's also the end of an era, because suitmation is no more.
Now it's done. I think especially with Shin Godzilla being all CGI. But when I met Haruo Nakajima, it was fascinating to listen to him tell all these stories. And actually, if you go online, there is the what would you call it? It was the session where he did his talk at G-Con 96, and if you can find that, where it's translated by the late Guy Tucker, you hear all the stories, people asking questions. It's rather lengthy, it's in several parts, but you'll be
quite honestly, it's well worth watching. Because it is a fascinating career.
I'll see if I can add links to it below. I know it's on YouTube. But it was a special conference that they held the opening night, and I remember actually being there, because I remember everybody gathering at the end of the hall, and the doors were open into the hotel conference room. Flashes are going off, people are taking pictures, and I'm at the back just outside the doors, and I'm taller, so I can kind of just sort of see over everybody looking through, and just listening to actually him tell all the stories, and I'm just, everybody's quiet, just trying to listen over to hear all these fantastic stories.
That's the thing. From what I've heard, he commanded a room when he talked.
And he's so funny, and he's this just soft-spoken gentleman who I think it was just, and I think it was unexpected to him, but it was because everyone. This was the man who was Godzilla, who started. I mean, Godzilla could have just been anything. It could have just been a monster movie that kind of got brushed off, but because he brought such life and personality to this thing, that it evolved into something more. And I think, I mean, it's credit to all these men who have now since passed on, but he was the one who actually got into the suit, did the hard work, and breathed life into these things. And
and not to mention brought it to the fans as well.
And it's interesting that he did this for up until 72, and when he retired, and he just said his contract was up, and really didn't think much of it at the time. He was done. He did a few little stunt work here and there for different films. I think Ron, he had a brief appearance in the movie Ron, and but Tim was kind of done, and he kind of went back to just living his life. And it wasn't until the G-Cons came up that they brought them to. To North America, and people went haywire, and they both, it was him and Kenpachiro Satsuma that came together as the men who were Godzilla, and I think they just were like in awe that people were embracing them. If I can throw in a quick little story, just a personal story, I'll never forget when we arrived at the hotel in 1996, and I remember this for the rest of my life. I had on a T-shirt that was from Godzilla vs. Biollante. We had Godzilla and the Super X2 flying over top. And we opened the doors of the hotel, and we had just arrived after like a 14-hour drive. And there was some men gathered around the lobby, and there was a few Japanese men. And the person who was with me says, "I think that's them over there." And I didn't want to stare, but I thought, no, they would just bring them and sit them down the lobby. I thought they would probably take them somewhere. Maybe this is just some of the people who were coming in to discuss the goings on at the convention. One of them comes running over, pointing at my shirt, showing something in Japanese, and it was actually Kenpachiro Satsuma who was actually doing it, because he was the one inside the Biollante suit. He was like, "Oh, that's me!" And I kept that shirt as locked away. I don't wore that shirt again. It's like under glass. But sure enough, and then he was kind of pointing over at the couch, and there was Haruo Nakajima, and he was pointing as well. He's like, "Oh." Like this, and so that was kind of my first encounter with meeting the two of them.
I never had the honor of meeting either of them, which is a shame. I really would have loved to, but from what I've heard, not just from you, but from others who have met them, is that they were just so friendly, and so forward.
Yeah. It's, you go to conventions, especially the big Comic-Cons, and your favorite stars and everything are all behind these big tables. You pay this exorbitant amount of money. You go up, you get a picture with them, they smile, say hello, sign a piece of paper, and then you kind of move on. This convention wasn't like that. They were right down with all of us. They came out later and had pictures taken.
I've only been to very few shows where the celebrities were not behind security, etc., etc. And that's, to me, that is how a show should be. Because a lot of those celebrities want to be out seeing the people and whatnot.
They get swarmed,
but then they get swarmed.
Sort of crowd control. But it was cool they did that, and I remember the Saturday night we all went for beer with them at the local pub, and everybody gathered, and you had 3 cheers like "Bonsai." Everyone was like "Bonsai," and even the I think it was Monday morning, we were getting ready to leave after the convention, and we went to the Denny's kind of across the street, and because no convention is complete without going to Denny's, so we went to the Denny's.
It's a convention tradition. Know it.
And it just happened that it was time that we were at the same table with, and it was kind of nice that we kind of had breakfast with Godzilla, and even the waiter was like, word had gotten around, and we mentioned the waiter was like, "Is that them?" It's like, "Yeah, you're basically serving Godzilla breakfast." So it was. And so that whole weekend is just forever ingrained in my memory, and I guess that's sort of my memory of Haruo Nakajima, is not just the man who brought my childhood, but that was kind of down to earth. It was the person that was actually right here, and so So yeah, it's kind of a sad loss, but
Mhm.
I have to say, I mean, he lived to 88 and
Yeah.
had lived a very full and rich life and did
Yeah.
many things. I can only hope that my life would be half that interesting. So
So thank you, Haruo Nakajima.
yeah,
You will be missed,
Mm.
and your footprint is forever on the world of film.
it is.
We'll see you later.